I'm gonna wear my headphones on this one too.
All right.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 26 of The Complete Game with Kurt and Garrick Schilling, my son. G, what's up?
What's going on, everybody? Good to be talking to you on this lovely Friday. It's nice and
So,
rainy, Florida weather here.
let's start off. Why don't you take us around the game with some interesting notes and
Yeah,
tidbits?
I mean, I just wanted to, we briefly talked about it before, but if you haven't heard by now, the Diamondbacks and Braves played yesterday, and the Diamondbacks had a 7-run comeback in the ninth inning against the Braves. And I know you love walking through how these types of disasters actually happen, so I have the batter by batter here. Start with Eugenio Suarez, who struck out to start the inning. Lourdes Gurriel hit a home run, made it 10-5. Tim Towel walked. Alec Thomas, 2-run home run. Jose Herrera walked. And then Scott Blewett, by the way, which is just an all-time reliever name in this
Yeah,
situation to have to
probably
to have
one.
to come in.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll double. Ketel Marte single, 10-8 game. They got their second out on a fly ball to shortstop, and then Il Demaro, I hope I'm saying that right, Vargas single to make it 10-9, and then Eugenio Suarez a 2-run double, and it was 11-10. That was all she wrote for Atlanta.
And if you guys go back and watch the inning, for those of you that are interested in pitching, for all you young pitchers out there, go back and watch that inning and stop every video of every hit or watch every pitch of the walks, which innings like that never happen without walks. But you're going to see great velocity, literally zero pitching for the entire inning. Iglesias came in to try and close that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and blew it. But it gets back to, and I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep the lack of actual pitching in the big leagues is terrifying, and it's rampant and league wide, and that's why you're seeing what was it 2 weeks ago with Suarez for the Padres walked a bunch of runs in the ninth
Yeah.
inning, not even close. These guys are topping the velocity chart with absolutely no firm grasp of how to pitch. I think back to Mariano Rivera, right? Think back to Rivera. You remember Mo was a he was 92, 93, 94 maybe. But you remember they used to send up right-handed hitters to face him instead of lefties because his cutter. It wasn't because of the cutter as much as it was because of his command of the cutter. He could throw that ball on your hands, except for Game 7 of the '01 World Series. But and if I got to tell you, I think back and look at that inning. If you guys go back and look at Game 7 2001 World Series, bottom ninth inning, the two hitters probably in baseball that you would want up in that situation, other than Bill Miller, were Tony Womack, who was a tremendous left-handed hitter at fighting, keeping the ball, his hands inside the ball, and Mark Grace. Grace leads off with a single. Womack tied the game with that cutter in double. But his cutter was so lethal because he commanded it. He could backdoor it, he could front door it, and it was all about command. It wasn't 98, didn't have to be 98. And that's lost. Again, I'm broken record. I'm going to keep saying it was lost. And we're actually going to talk in depth a little bit later about something that I want to try and teach young pitchers. I want to teach young coaches who are teaching pitchers, and I want to teach the casual fan something about the delivery that you'll notice or haven't noticed that I want you to pay attention to. Um, but yeah, so the 7-run ninth, and we talked about there's been a couple monumental games this year, right? 22-5, 19-3, and I've told you, and you were around it long enough to know those losses, those 20-win losses, that's it. Monday they're done.
Yeah,
Okay,
that,
on
that
to
doesn't hurt as bad as a
no
7-run ninth inning.
7-run ninth inning will wear on you. I I set a dubious record in
That
19.
feels safe after that happens to your team.
Right. I I was the first pitcher since the Second World War to blow a 4-run ninth inning lead all by myself. And it's still to this day one of the most painful outings of my entire life. I had a 4-0 shutout going into the bottom of the ninth in New York. Piazza single, Ventura homers, it's 4-2. I get an out, bumble around. The inning ends up going on forever. I hit two guys, and for those of you with children listening, mute them for a second. Tito comes out, and I see Eric Plantenberg getting loose in the bullpen. And he looks at me, and I look back to the bullpen, and I go, no. He goes, I'm not fucking bringing Plantenberg in. I'm just trying to give you a rest right here. I was at 130 some pitches. No, I had no business still being out there, but we had nobody else. I ended up giving it away. It's funny because they tied the game 4-4. Olrud comes up, And Lieberthal comes out to the mound and he looks at me and he says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I have nothing to get this guy out. I'm not going to make him swing and miss. So let's just throw a fastball away. Hope he lines it to left and Ronnie catch it. Ronnie Gant was in left. Fastball away, line drive to left, short hop. Gant picks it up, throws home. Late game over, 5-4. I sat on the dugout for probably 2 hours after that game. Stadium was empty. I was still sitting there because I couldn't believe. Devastating way to lose a game. Those losses are just catastrophic and they wear on you, especially when you're a team that starts 0-7 and then fights your way back into contention. You get Acuna back, and now things are going sideways. They're having problems. There's a lot of clubs. The Phillies with what was it, Alvarado, 80 games,
Yeah.
and now they've got oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. The other closer, Romano, who's struggling, and the Dodgers and Devin Williams is now back because Weaver's out 4 to 6 weeks. Um, Sabermetrics works in many ways, but you cannot build a bullpen by committee. It doesn't work because getting the last 3 outs of a game, and you play baseball at a level, you played through high school into college, the 3 outs in the ninth inning are different than the rest of it. I don't care. Sabermetrics guys are like, I'll bring my high leverage guy in the seventh inning with 2 runners on because that's the biggest influence. And I get that. But those 3 outs in the ninth are different. You have to have a different mental makeup. And excuses aside, whatever, it's different. I couldn't do it. I was a closer in Houston for a little while. I couldn't let it go when I blew a game. And it took a different mentality. That's why, again, guys like Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, Billy Wagner, all the Robbie Nen, all the great ones were guys with real short memories. So tough loss for them.
And then just a couple other things, mentioning teams that started out struggling. The Orioles and Rockies ended up on winning streaks since we last talked, which is hilarious. The Rockies have won 25% of their games since we last talked.
Right.
Three wins out of 12.
And when you're talking about a winning streak of 3 games, you're in a little different place.
I mean, again,
they swept the Marlins.
You've been on some bad teams.
Yeah, real bad.
I mean, that legitimately had to be like a weight off their shoulders.
Let me just tell you, for those of you that don't know, I can tell you one thing I know for sure. The Colorado plane flight after the Miami series was literally
like
a bachelor party.
Okay, I hope so.
It was. It had
to be a tough one.
And if you look at their net, for you Colorado fans out there, well, I just saw they are now 200,000 to 1 to win the World Series. Oh, yeah. But for Colorado fans looking for hope, they swept the Marlins. The Marlins aren't good. But they won games. And for the guys on the field, and since they've switched managers, you've read a lot. They've been in a lot of games and all this other stuff. They're not winning run games and whatnot. But I still argue that the organization needs to completely scrap everything they've ever done with regards to the draft and pitching and rebuilding an organization from the ground up. With a completely new philosophy around pitching, teaching pitching, coaching pitching, and developing pitching. What else?
And then just real quick, cool stat I saw today from Ryan Spader. Roy Halladay, since 2009, still leads the MLB in complete
Since 2009, Roy Halladay is the major league leader in complete games, and he
27. Adam Wainwright behind him with 26. Clayton Kershaw 25. Verlander 23. And
now wait, start that list over. Read me how many complete games and how many starts.
Oh, the starts. I gotta bring it up.
Okay, yeah. Because Halladay was like 27 and 135 starts.
Yeah, filibuster for me for a second.
And the rest of these guys, for the most part, were like 26 and 300.
Yeah. So Halladay 27 complete games on 135 starts. Wainwright 26 and 363. Kershaw 25 and 413. Verlander 23 and 439. And then Cliff Lee also 22 and 168.
Right.
Both Philly guys.
Right.
Too, which explains that run through the late
2000s. Yeah. How they didn't win more with that rotation when they had Oswalt, Halladay,
and
Lee.
That lineup.
Yeah,
that lineup was ridiculous.
Yeah, they should have won more. So yeah, that's that. But that goes back to the conversation we've been having for multiple episodes around pitching and the way the development of pitching has digressed immensely, which is why you're seeing literally every day a new pitcher on the DL
and 7-run bullet leads in
Right. That's exactly right. Okay. I wanted to real quickly talk about, we finished up with our draft stuff and MLB.com, for what it's worth, uh, I use that. I'll touch base with that just to see. They have a new mock draft. And uh, so when I rank pitchers, I rank them from 1 to 10. I've never given a 10. Getting an 8 on my scale is a guy that's literally a year or two away from the big leagues, which I haven't seen. 7 is a big deal to me. Over 7 is a big deal to me. So the guy that I had rated the highest of the college arms was Cade Anderson, 6'2", 179 out of LSU. He is now being projected as the number one guy with the Tennessee kid Liam Doyle going second. Those were my two highest ranked. I had Cade Anderson at a 7.5 with Doyle at a 7.75. Neither of those guys would I take over my pick. If I'm picking in the draft, the kid I'm taking is the 18-year-old from Oregon in Cruz Schoolcraft. I think that the upside there, like if you're drafting in the first round and you're drafting a pitcher, my opinion is you're drafting a pitcher in the first round to be a number one, an ace, an opening day guy, a play-in game guy, a guy to pitch 3 starts in the World Series, a guy to get you whatever for 10, 15 years. That's what your number one picks are, in my opinion. That's what I'm scouting. I don't think anybody has the upside of Cruz Schoolcraft overall. I think mechanically he's far ahead of almost every pitcher I've looked at. He's got better mechanics, softer, less effort mechanics. And if you get a chance to look at his YouTube video, take a peek at it. It's pretty special. You're looking at a kid who's
I can put it in the description if you
yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah. There's a couple YouTube videos out there. You'll see one he's pitching in a futures game. He's warming up at 88 to 90, 91. Game starts, he's at 94. That's that's 98, 99 in the next 5, 10 years because that velocity just naturally comes. And all of that without max effort. Decent breaking ball, big body, simple mechanics. Um, I had a chance to speak with him briefly, and he sounds to me like a great kid. So his parents should be very proud. Tennessee commit. But I can't find a reason why, if I'm him, and I'm comfortable with who I am and comfortable with going out on my own, I would start my career as soon as possible. The money he's going to sign for in the draft, regardless of what that is going to be chump change compared to the hundreds of millions to potentially $1 billion he's going to make over a lengthy, healthy career. And I think he's got a chance to stay as healthy as anybody in the draft. So I want to talk real quick. So this is going to sound a lot more complicated than it is, but it's not. All right. There's this thing.
You
It's
need to
called,
explain this to me like I'm 5.
okay, I'm going to. All right. So there's this thing in baseball for pitching. It's called the kinetic chain. All right. And that it's right there, kinetic chain. And think of it like these are 8 chain links, and each one is linked to the next. Okay. And power in baseball is flexibility and range of motion, be it pitching or hitting. And this is a horrible job. I drew a little smiley face because there's the head. But the kinetic chain consists of, in my opinion, 8 links. And basically what it is, it's a transfer of power through your body to your hand. All right. And when you have good mechanics and you're smooth, free and easy, and you're flexible, you're a Cruz Schoolcraft, and you get out and you finish and extend. This is 100% right here. Okay. And this is your toe on the rubber. All right. This is point one. 100% energy starting right there. All right. Now, what happens is that power, you want that power to be as close to 100% when the ball comes out of your hand. And how you get that power from there to there is like this. It starts with your foot push off. It goes to your first joint, your ankle. Then it goes to your knee. Then it goes to your hip. Then it goes to your core. Then it goes to through your back, scapula, shoulder, to your elbow, to your wrist, and out the front end. Now, if any of those chains in the link is weak, you get less power. If I have a ruptured tendon in my ankle, I'm only getting about 80% of the power through this part of the chain to here. Now I've got to, and your body's going to compensate. The problem is with these young men. So think about it like this. Take this chain, this 8-link chain, and swing it around in a circle. That's soft momentum, flexible energy. Now take that same chain and whip it like a whip. That's what these guys are throwing like today. What do you think is more stress on the links of the chain? Circling it like this, where they all flow together, or whipping it like that, like a whip, almost like a bull whip. And and what you do when you do the bull whip, which is the guy that stands up tall, the guy I've talked about, where his back is to the plate and all the things that go with that. The guy that stands up tall is whipping the chain. So what do you think? Where do you think that's the stress between each chain link is heightened? And then when you get to the end, you're talking about an extreme amount of stress on the last three parts: shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then the ball. So what's happening is 100% of this energy is turning into about 75% up here. And my argument is less effort, more range of motion, more length, more finish. This is much closer to 100 than it is to 75. And that doesn't always translate into much more velocity. It will actually be a little more velocity, but most important is our strike zone, right? When I'm flexible and I'm delivering and I have that free and easy motion, I can throw pitches here and here and here and here, and I miss over here and I miss over here and I miss over here. When I'm not, I'm trying to throw a pitch here and I'm throwing it over here. I'm throwing it over here. I'm throwing a lot here. So when you see these guys, you see a lot of these experts on the internet talking about, oh, this guy fills up the strike zone. Well, he throws a lot of strikes, but all strikes are not created equal. And that's supposed to be how it is for college and high school arms don't have hundreds of innings of development. But what's the problem I have is that the kids you're seeing in these draft videos with their mechanics, they're going to be the same physical mechanical pitcher you see in the big leagues because they're not going to get enough innings in the minor leagues. They're not going to get enough coaching in the minor leagues to change what they are. Listen, if I love Liam Doyle. The kid's a competitor and all the things go with that, but he's a max effort guy. Your body, the body is not built to throw every pitch at 110%. And by the way, all of these guys that are max effort guys, you're seeing the top of the food, you're seeing the top of the chain from them. They're not going to be able to reach back. This is them reaching back every pitch. At 20, you can do it. At 18, you can do it. At 21, you can do it. You can't do it as you get into the pros as you go up levels because each level you're going to be giving more and more effort. You don't ever pitch with as much exertion, effort, and energy as you do in the big leagues anywhere else. You can't replicate it. So anyway, hopefully that kind of makes a little sense.
Question
Yep, go ahead.
We talked a lot about going, and you mentioned it there, like max effort, whipping the chain. Like I think in the past you referred to it as fully dipping into the well or
Right, going to the well.
Yeah, going to the well. What I think, at least personally, I see in terms of what you're talking about there is guys are going to the well all the time, and it's their baseline where that's where we have, like you're saying, the chain links start to break and these guys have injuries. So what would you say, or how would you say you figure out where that line is for a guy like you or someone who lived in the upper 90s, but also like you have to find that median where, all right, this is where I can paint with 97, 98, well, I can get up to 100, 100.
The misnomer. Yeah, that's a great point. The misnomer is that I have to put all this effort into it to throw this hard. You don't. These guys, so a Doyle, for example, let's just say he's sitting 96 to 98. Okay. If I had Liam Doyle for three bullpens, he might sit 94 to 97, and he'd have 98 to 99 to reach back with two strikes. However, my version of Liam Doyle is throwing strikes 75+% of the time. Command strikes, corner strikes, right? Which is different. The Chase Dollander example, I kept using. When you look at these guys, and we went back with Mick Abel, that start I looked at Mick Abel. When you looked at him, Mick Abel was quote unquote filling up the strike zone, but he was doing it in the middle of the plate, which with his stuff, you'll get away with it for a little while. Then when it comes around, the league sees you enough, that's going to change. And his mechanics aren't so that whole reach in the well thing. I remember there was a very specific pitch in my career that I remember. I was in Arizona and I was throwing, I was in Philadelphia and I was pitching in Atlanta. And I threw a first pitch fastball down and away to Chipper Jones. And I felt like I was playing catch, like no effort. And it was 97 on the gun. And I kind of smiled and said to myself, that was a perfect pitch. Like mechanically, no, I didn't max out at anything. I commanded the ball and painted the corner with the pitch. That's where these guys, none of these guys have that. If they paint, it's by accident. And, you know, what you do when you command the baseball is you prepare every hitter up there for a strike every pitch. If I throw 95 or 96 and I can throw the ball to both corners, the hitter can never sit on my breaking ball. And so my breaking ball is always going to get you out in front or whatever. Good hitters, whatever, stay back. But my breaking stuff, and these deliveries don't allow them to throw their breaking stuff. Like I said, Martin Rivera could throw his cutter into a lefty and jam him, and front door to a righty to come back over the plate, and you can't defend both. However, if Mario just threw a cutter for cutter's sake and didn't have command of it, it would have been a completely different pitcher. He wouldn't have the numbers he had. Hitters have to prepare for pitchers with command, especially fastball command, no matter how hard you throw. Because every breaking ball in the big leagues, its effect and its lethality is based on your fastball, not your velocity, but your command. I said I was talking to Cruz yesterday, and I said, the key with a pitcher, regardless of your velocity, is you have to be able to throw a fastball in a fastball count to a fastball hitter and get a good result. 88 or 90, doesn't matter. I need to be able to throw to a fastball down and away. And if you single the right, then you're a smart, good hitter. But most guys are trying to jerk that ball out of the ballpark, and that's a fly ball center. But so the well thing is only applicable to guys who aren't max effort every pitch, and I'm having trouble finding those guys. Those guys are the max effort every pitch thing is just rampant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I would view it as a spectator is like a good golfer is like a great pitcher, where no great golfer is like swinging as hard as they can every time. It's about technique and form
When
and
a when a
just
golfer
following
gets
through
goes
good.
to the well, you see it,
Yeah, yeah, and
right?
same with great pitchers. I feel like.
That's exactly right. You think Greg Maddux ever reached back to throw 91? Nah, he would almost dial back.
But I mean, even the guys that did like the RJs,
Yeah.
like you could hear,
What?
like they weren't
Right.
very vocal,
And it
but
was two strike. Right. Right. And it was either a pivotal at bat every pitch or a two strike pitch where he would go from 95 to 99. If you're going to go from 95 to 96 without command, what's the point? Maddox, that thing I said the other day, Greg Maddox said, if you look at two cars on the drive freeway, one's driving 90, one's driving 91, is there a difference?
yeah,
So,
makes sense.
all right, hopefully that made sense. Now I'm going to guess my teammate. I'm getting it within three this time.
All right.
Last time, really, really kind of play with my head a little bit.
Guess your teammate. As always, we got 5 clues ranging from vague to very obvious. We will start you out with the most vague clue. All right. Although only an 11-year career, I won 2 World Series in that time, both with the club we played on together.
Kevin Youkilis.
Nope. Good guess though. I like the thought process we're on early. Although only a one-time All-Star, I also earned Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, and AL Comeback Player of the Year honors in 2011, all in that same year.
Mike Lowell.
Nope. Although injuries eventually prematurely ended my career, at my peak powers, I was talked about as a centerpiece for the next era after winning the 2007 World Series with the Red Sox. Which I thought was going to be a bigger hint for you by this point, but it seems like you've already narrowed down to a specific franchise.
Wait, what was the second clue again?
Second clue. Although only a one-time All-Star, I also earned
Oh, Jacoby Ellsbury.
Jacoby Ellsbury.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say the next one was I followed Johnny Damon not only in
Yeah,
left
yeah,
field for the Red Sox,
yeah.
but in
Yeah.
career moves when I signed with New York in December of 2013.
11 years. Well, 2009 kind of threw me off because that's 16 years ago, and I'm thinking, oh, but then I remembered, yeah, okay.
And then, yeah, during the '07 postseason, I came in for Coco Crisp in center field in Game 6 and would go on to hit 360 and 25 ABs in 11 games the rest of that postseason.
Carried us through the post. One of the guys who did.
Monster run.
I mean, he was
And he was so fun when he first came up.
he
to
was a
watch playing
revelation, man. I don't have any idea what happened. I mean, he went to New York and disappeared.
Yeah, only 11
Just
years too. I
right.
thought he played 15 years at least.
11 sounds like a lot for me, and because I
Yeah.
always I when I picture him as the kid graduating out of Oregon at
Yeah.
like 12 years old. Um, but had the 5 tool could fly,
First
tremendous
first
center.
hit was an infield hit. Like he had
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff going
Yep.
as like the watch this guy when he gets on base, which is such a thing now in baseball where it's just not exciting anymore with
Well, a guy like
guys
Jacoby
moving.
Ellsbury today would steal 205
Oh my
bases.
God, yeah. Ronald Acuna numbers,
Right,
that's true.
right, right. Yep. All right. Hey, that was fun, guys. It's Friday. We will pick up on Sunday. Catch you guys. The draft's coming up. Uh, my guy, Schoolcraft. Good luck Saturday state championship. He's playing. He's not pitching. He's hitting. So apparently he's a two-way stud too at 6'8". So I don't know how that's going to play out. But you guys have a great week. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday, bud. Oh,
See you
and by the
Sunday.
way, I failed to mention this, and I feel bad, but our last episode came on Lou Gehrig Day,
Yeah, good
which
call.
has become a very big day in baseball. And for those of you that are affected by ALS, God bless you, thinking about you. And for those of you that can help. ALS.org is the website. And today is the 80, no, 79th anniversary of D-Day.
Okay.
June 6, 1944, right? 80, no, 81st. 81st, I'm sorry, 81st
Yeah.
anniversary of D-Day to the greatest generation. Pretty incredible to think about who they were and what they did. So God bless you all. We'll talk to you guys on Sunday.
See you Sunday.